I did it. I can't believe I did it, but I did it. After owning the Rolex Explorer II for only 2 months, I took the plunge and I sold my entire watch collection. This is now my only watch. Why did I do this? Yep, that's right. My Panerai, my Planet Ocean, Omega, my Breitling. I sold them all. I've said on videos I will never sell these watches, but Rolex, the Explorer II, has changed all that. Thank you so much for checking out my channel. My name is Shane Walls. We're here in my Laguna Beach art studio today to just make the video and go over why did I sell my entire watch collection just for the Rolex Explorer II. So let's jump right into it. Technically, why I sold my other watches is, you know, they have the power reserve. All my other watches have been automatic watches, which means they're self-winding. By the motion on my wrist, they charge the watch. And each watch comes with an approximately power reserve, 70, 55, 60, whatever the model watch would be. And in my mind, approximately could be below or above. Every watch I've owned, mechanical, automatic winding, the approximate power reserve has been under what they say it would be. Now, it's been close, but approximately, I get it. This is the power reserve. This Rolex has been the first watch I've owned where that approximately meant over the number they gave. Example, this is 70 hours of power reserve. When I did the full wind and charged it, it lasted 71 in like 5 minutes. So the approximate over 70 hours, it was over and above. All my other watches, like I said, they've all been, it's only a few hours, but they've been under their approximation. And another interesting thing I found out about these watches, reading online, with just the motion of your wrist, you might not fully charge the watch. Not that big a deal, but I thought I would play with this. Interesting enough then, I then wore each one on my wrist, did my, over 15,000 steps, got a quick run in before I left them, and all the other watches were then less than what they were when I fully wound them. Not by much, but they were still less. So again, not the biggest deal in the world, but interesting enough, the Rolex, again, exceeded. It matched exact same, it was about 71 hours, give or take, from winding the watch to full power reserve. It matches what I did when I was just wearing it on my wrist and charging it through motion. But the attention to detail that Rolex seems to put in their watches, it's just a 1 or 2 steps above these other brands. Other brands, again, are great brands and they are a little less expensive. I understand this is the most expensive watch out of the other ones I've owned. But just that extra step really impresses me. Still on technical, this is certified to ±2. The other watches were, I think, +3, -6, and with the Omega, I think it's +4, -6. Still great movements, incredible movements, especially for the price. But that little extra step, this Rolex is a ½ second off, that's how precise it is, per day. The other watches, they were within what they advertised. It's totally true what they said they would do, but they were right on the fringes. They were right on the cusp of that +4, -6. It was right kind of on the edge. It stayed there, it was within, again, what they said it would do, but this is right there. The Rolex, again, kind of superseded that by, it could be ±2, which is still incredible, but it still narrowed it in, that extra step, and it's only a ½ second. So each time the Rolex has been better than what they said it would be, whereas the other watches have just matched what they said they would be. Now, all that technical stuff got me thinking about, should I sell my other watches? It wasn't the reason why, it just got me thinking about it. But then it slowly kind of started to seep in about how special the Rolex was by going just that extra step. And that made it personally a little bit more special to me. It became one of those things where all my other watches, I enjoyed them tremendously when I first got them. I still enjoyed them throughout as long as I had them. But after 3-4 weeks or so, it was one of those things where I really enjoyed wearing this watch, but let's kind of go back to one of the older ones. Nice having it, but let's take a break from it. After 2 months of owning the Rolex, that never happened. Every morning, waking up and going in and looking at my meager small collection of watches, I always immediately went for the Rolex. Each time, went for the Rolex, went for the Rolex. That has never happened to me before. And I haven't been collecting watches all that long. It's been a couple years. And I grew attached to a lot of these watches. I really did. And it was really hard for me to sell them. I didn't want to do it. But just thinking over what this means to me personally, only after 2 months, the connection I made with this watch, how technically superior it is, and just really honestly, it's such a beautiful, beautiful and silly watch. I can honestly say I kind of fell in love with it. That sounds too strong. Yeah, I really, really like this watch. And emotionally, just back to waking up every morning, I just immediately, didn't even think twice, just immediately went to the Rolex. And that's kind of the main reason why I decided to sell my collection. Was it worth it to me to have thousands of dollars just sitting in a safe collecting dust? And when I travel, I already have enough stuff in gear, photography gear when we're traveling. I don't want to take another watch. It just adds to the clutter. So for me, in this part of my life, I felt it more beneficial for me to take those watches and sell them and put that money towards traveling, towards the business, creating more experiences with the Rolex. Also, so far, a lot of the negatives I've seen online and complaints about this watch haven't quite come true for me. In the way that I bumped this thing pretty good. If you saw my other video, I ran it into a tree. But also too, in the office, I have knocked this against a desk. I've done quite a few things to it. And it's not scratching as easily as everyone says it is. And it's taken some knocks. I have hit it pretty good. And here, as you can see, it's still pretty flawless. I mean, on the clasp, there are a few little scratches, but I mean, that's pretty common. I still have that memory from when I scratched it on the rock up in the Eastern Sierra, so still look at that and think of it. As for the other negatives of this watch, there really isn't too many. I've mentioned before, it's a little too noticeable for my liking, but it's not really the watch's fault, just people really haven't seen the white dial out in the wild before, so they have questions about it. And I've had no problems. I have no problem talking about the watch if someone comes up to me. It's just working in LA and everything and all the horrible stories you've heard about it. I'm always a little on guard with that, but I've had no issues. So, I mean, this watch, I have just nothing but good things to say about it. And this is, I'm not being paid by Rolex. You can see by this cheap setup. We're in the back of my studio filming. I'm not being sponsored. Rolex has nothing to do with it. They're obviously not paying for this. So when I find a good product, I really enjoy it. And this is an amazing product that I'm just very excited to own. Now, some people say the Rolexes are very overpriced. And I mean, this is one of the baseline Rolexes. So, I mean, I think for a baseline Rolex and the price, I mean, I think it's finished beautifully. I think it's a beautiful watch. I mentioned that before. But if you look at other watchmakers, I mean, they might have better finishing, but they're not nearly as accurate as the Rolex. They're not certified to +/-2. They're not nearly as tough either as the Rolex. So I'm thinking price-wise, it's not too bad. Look at the other ones. They're, again, better finished, but they're a lot more money and they're not as robust or accurate. And I think that's really what, to me anyway, is very important about a watch, is this ruggability and just how accurate it is. Thank you again so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you like this video, give us a like, hit subscribe if you're not already. We're gonna be doing a lot more with this watch. We have a bunch of trips planned, and I'm really eager to see how this watch handles extreme conditions, sub-zero temperature, swimming through canyons, and do what it was designed to do. Go exploring, get beat up, and keep ticking accurately. Thanks again for watching. Cheers.